Hi. So today this video's all going to be about slightly different than the normal videos. It's going to be about the EV revolution that's coming and the impact of the various industries and sectors linked to it. As I've had the Model S now a good few weeks and I'm getting to use it a little bit more and getting to appreciate it and the way it drives, you know, the range, etc. You start to think about the other things that are associated with EVs and see things on the news and in the press as to what are actually impacted. So I've written a few ideas down here, some thoughts I have, and it'd be interesting to get your feedback of as to what your thoughts are on this subject. So a little bit of a break from the norm, not about I'm charging my EV or I'm doing this. It's about thoughts around the EV industry and what's happening. So the first thing I've got on here is the cars themselves. When you typically own a petrol or diesel car, certainly new ones when you get on the leases and nearly new ones, you tend to keep them in good order. So what you will do is book them in for servicing. Servicing is obviously there to maintain the life of the car and keep it going, but it's also for a lot of the dealers, it's seen as a revenue generator for them to actually get them income. And if you have a look at some of the things on those services, you take your car in, you've got the time that it takes the mechanics to actually do the work, but you also get the consumables in there as well, which they actually do charge you for, obviously. So you've got oils, lubricants and other type of fluids in the car that they can make money from. That amounts to, you know, typically on a 12 months or 18 month service, depending on the service plan of the car, that can be around about £400 each time you take the car in for that service. Although it's not a monumental amount, it does add up to, you know, a significant amount of money. And if you look at it from a dealer's perspective, how many cars of those dealers servicing each day, each week? Where is that revenue going to come from when they start moving all to EVs? You know, that will be a significant bit of revenue that the dealers lose. I'm sure they'll be quite creative and come up with some different revenue generation for the cars. But in simplistic terms, you won't have the mechanic hours to do the work. You'll not need to buy the lubricating, the oil for the engine, for the gearboxes, for the differentials, the coolant for the engines as well, air filters, yeah, you might get that for the air conditioning, but all those little things, including spark plugs, all add up to a significant amount of money and a revenue generation. Interesting, where are they going to get the money from? Linked to that, because if your dealers are not using the consumables, oil, where's that, you know, that oil will not need to be produced by a lot of the oil companies. So I think that will have a significant impact on the oil companies themselves. Yeah, they tend to use crude oil in things like plastics manufacturers, etc. But the demand for X number of barrels of oil across the entire globe for cars, that'll not be there. Along with the having EVs, one thing that's very apparent you don't need is gasoline or fuel. So that's another you know, consumable or product that the petrochemical industry make that will be significantly reduced. They will not need to produce as much oil or as much fuel for cars. So the likes of people like BP and Shell in the UK at this moment in time, I think they've registered that fact that, you know, there won't be that demand going forward for petrol and oil for cars, and they're already starting to put electric charging points on their forecourt for cars to obviously go and charge up. The other thing as well is, you know, because you need fuel for a typical, you know, internal combustion engine, that is a necessary journey you have to go. You have to go to the petrol station to plug in, and then they obviously get the additional spends that you would spend in the shop potentially. But with not having that drive or that need to go to the petrol station, you won't need to go. You can charge at home. So you know, for the likes of Shell, BP, and a lot of the other, you know, fuel sales companies, they'll have to quickly get on board with this thing, because, you know, the cars over the next few years will be significantly more and more EVs, and they will significantly lose a lot of revenue for the day-to-day business, and obviously link back to the petrochemical companies. Look at the cars again themselves. Yeah, you will need the body of the car. That's a given. That will, you know, always be there in effect, whether it be steel, aluminium, or some sort of composite. That'll always be there. So you'll need people to manufacture that. However, one thing that will change, you will not need engine manufacturing plants. You know, there's a significant amount of complexity in an internal combustion engine with all the pistons, crankshafts and everything. You will not need that. Now, you can offset that slightly, because you do need battery packs for cars, and you also need the motors for cars. So, little bit of an offset going on there, but a lot of the complexity in terms of an internal combustion engine won't be needed. So the likes of Volkswagen and all the other, you know, car manufacturers around there, they will have to swap their manufacturing plants over from making internal combustion engines to battery packs and drivetrains. So again, as an impact for the workers working at those companies, they're all skilled people in making internal combustion engines. They'll then become people making battery packs, and as you can see from the Tesla, a lot of the Tesla your press with the Gigafactory, they're automating a lot of the processes for the battery packs and everything associated with it. So, you know, the need for actual people to do the work will be increasing less. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for all the car manufacturers to swap the manufacturing, and also they are faced with potentially not having as many employees on their books for the payroll. So that's going to be quite interesting over the years. Let's get back to the cars again. So, you know, we have around the world, you have there's a significant used car industry, whether it be old cars or nearly new cars. That again will take a change, because let's look at the swap over period. Currently now you get a lot of the PCP deals with the cars, the short term, you know, 2, 3, 4 year leases, and they have a nice healthy rotation of cars. You have it for a couple of years. In fact, they even ring you up before your lease is up quite often, and they say, would you like to upgrade, you know, even part way through your lease. And that's to ensure they have a good turnover, a rotation of new vehicles. But with the onset of the EVs, what you will potentially get is somewhere along the line, there will be a, you know, if you look at the planet, there will be millions of cars, internal combustion engines, that are not being used. So there will always be, you know, cheap cars that people will be able to run about for a few £100s. But the entire car industry is faced with having a massive backlog or stock of used internal combustion engines that nobody wants, because people are slowly but surely will be increasingly moving over to the EVs. What are those car manufacturers such as Ford, Volkswagen, Audi, Renault, the whole gamut of them, what are they going to do with those used vehicles? Recycle them? You know, that's yet again an interesting challenge for the you know, the existing car manufacturers and the way forward moving to EVs. But who's going to buy this old stock? Take it down a level to the traditional, almost like backstreet used car salesman. Again, they're going to be stuck with a lot of old vehicles that people don't want. You know, eventually they will all fade away and ultimately potentially be replaced by the EVs that are coming. Linked to that, not such main dealer, but again, you're a small backstreet mechanic or garage that looks after the cars that aren't under warranty, or somebody needs it fixing. Don't need the engines, don't need the gearboxes, don't need the clutches. All that goes away. So again, even lower down the food chain in the car industry, it will be quite an interesting change to see how this thing evolves over time. Slightly different subject, but linked to the cars, certainly from Tesla and all the other manufacturers. Quick note about autonomous driving, and this will be quite interesting. A bit longer term perhaps, but food for thought. There were some photographs released recently from the Chevy Bolt, I think it was, where currently they actually published a photograph where it showed a photo looking down to the front driver's cockpit, and they didn't have any pedals, and there was no steering wheel to drive the car. And they were aiming to do that. I'll try and put a link in. They were aiming to do that in a few years' time. Where does that actually leave, in effect, the the driving test or driving instructor market? Me, as somebody learning to drive years ago, I went to a driving instructor. I learned all about clutch control and driving that way. Where is that going to go? Because if they're starting to produce vehicles at some point with no steering wheels, will people need a driving test? Can you be actually stopped for drink driving because you're technically not driving, because the car's got no steering wheels or pedals? If you perhaps go for a meal and you've had too much to drink, can you just get in the car and tell it to take you home and it takes you home? If you look at cabs, the entire cab industry around the world, will there be a need for cab drivers? Because again, autonomous vehicles, you potentially be able to go and hail a cab on an app like an Uber. It arrives, you get in, it knows where you want to go home and it takes you home. And then you don't even have to pay because it books it onto your credit card via the app. That's a really, really strange subject to sort of see how it evolves again along with the car industry. It's linked. Take it to its nth degree. Will people actually, and I think this is the way that even Musk is thinking of going with the Teslas, will people actually own cars? Is there a need to own a car? Yeah, I love this Model S. I've got the Model 3 on order. I love Ferraris, I love Lamborghinis. I do like cars. But will there actually be a need to own a car? Because theoretically, if you have the ability on your app to say, I want a car to go to work every morning, it turns up at your house every morning, 7:30. You get in, it drives you to work. Once it's dropped you off at work, it goes, drives away. If you want to go somewhere at lunchtime, you arrange a car, it arrives, you get in the car, it drives you to where you want to go to. I want to go on vacation, to the airport, whatever, you just summon a car. They will be there. So the logic progression of this sort of thing is people just don't need cars, and there is just this car bureau service around the planet that people call on, and the cars just drive. Like for those of you who've seen the I think it's Total Recall film, Johnny Cabs on steroids. Cars that just drive around, you get in, they do the job. So interesting thoughts are going on for the car industry. It does make you think about this sort of stuff a lot more when you own an EV, and I don't need to go and fill up every month at the petrol station. But yeah, alright, I go and charge at the Supercharger currently, but I can top up at home. I don't really have to go to a Supercharger. I can charge up at home. So yeah, interesting thoughts, and I will be really, really interested to see what are your thoughts on this subject, and you may have also thought of something that I haven't thought of in terms of some relations to the car industry. So give us your feedback. Hope you liked the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. The Tesla referral program has been extended, so I'll put my referral code on here, which you, again, at the moment I think you get free supercharging for life, and in the UK you get £375 credit, I think, as well. So give it a thumbs up, hope you like it, and I shall see you on the next video.